Good day. Thank you for tuning in to this general election candidate forum for Olympia City Council Position 4. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and TCTV. The League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation of its citizens in their government. The League registers new voters, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with the legislature. Despite its name, the League is open to both men and women of voting age. I'm Melissa Minjares from the League, and I'll be moderating this forum today. The candidates for Olympia City Council position number 4 are Darren Mills and Cheryl Selby. For this forum, the candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then I'll ask them a series of questions in alternating order. The first person asked the question will have 2 minutes for a response, followed by 1 minute from the other candidate. There will be 1 minute for closing statements from each candidate at the end. We'll begin with opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Darren Mills. Mr. Mills?
Thank you, Melissa. I moved to Olympia, Washington in 1989, and I spent my 20s in Olympia coming into my own and discovering that I really loved politics. In 2000, I decided to shed the small city life and moved to New York City, where I had a wonderful professional hairdressing career for 5 years, but I realized I really missed the feel of a small city and how much effect you can have on your community. So I moved back, and I decided to hit the ground running. I've always been an arts advocate in Olympia and my entire life. When I moved back, I joined the POSCA board, and I served as their president for 4 years, advocating for children's arts programs. When I opened my business in downtown Olympia 7 years ago, I discovered the real issues facing downtown business owners every day, so I decided I need to help work towards solutions. So I joined the PBIA board, the Parking Business Improvement Area Board, and this past year I was elected chair. Along the way, after moving back, I also discovered my love of local politics. So I volunteered on campaigns, and I realized through that process that the best way I can serve my community is by being on Olympia City Council and helping set policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Selby, and I'm a downtown business owner. But before I opened Viva La 7 years ago, I worked for the city over 5 years, over 2 different periods. I started with the Parks Department and later on with Probation Services, where I managed multiple public health and public and safety programming. As well, I have almost a quarter century of nonprofit board experience and raised both my daughters here, K through 12, in the public schools. I believe I have the powerful combination of public, private, and nonprofit experience to bring to the council. Currently, there's not a business owner on the city council who has a brick and mortar store that's open 7 days a week, and I think that's an important voice to have at the table. So I look forward to bringing that perspective to the council. I'm a doer, and I'm totally invested in this community. I chose it to raise my family. I've donated countless hours and other resources to nonprofits, as well as built my business here. So I would love to have your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you both. Now on to the questions. As I said before, each of you will get an opportunity to answer each question, and we'll take turns starting. Mr. Mills, the first question to you is, as you both know, there's been a lot of discussion lately about the proposed low barrier shelter in the city of Olympia, and the League would like to know, what would you do about the proposed low barrier shelter?
Well, about 3 years ago, I decided I needed to channel my own frustration with what I was seeing outside my business's door in regards to the homeless population. So I really decided I needed to learn more about homelessness in general. So I educated myself. I met with the social service workers in town, and that's when I first learned of a low barrier shelter. And I realized at that point that this is what Olympia needed to fill the gap in services that we're currently experiencing. The population we see on the street right now are unable to access services. So what the People's House would do would fill that gap, get people off of the streets into a shelter and have access to services that they need to set their lives onto a better path. I have supported the idea of a low barrier shelter long before I decided to run for city council. I stand by that position, and I do stand in support of the People's House.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
Thank you. We live in a caring, compassionate community, and it's one of the reasons why I chose to live here and raise my family. We have an amazing capacity to take care of people, but I believe that downtown is that capacity for sheltering the homeless population. I look forward to finding positive solutions to this community's challenge. I think it's going to take more than just Olympia doing that. We need to make it a regional approach. I want to focus on coordinated entry. I want to find siting where we are not in a commercial center or in a neighborhood or near schools. And I think that's possible, and I'm working towards that solution right now. Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, Ms. Selby, the next question goes to you first, and it's longer. The Thurston Regional Planning Council's current proposal for future sustainability in the region calls for significant policy changes for local governments. What is one area where change is called for, and how would you propose to deal with it?
Thank you. Well, I believe that density is our destiny. We are projected to absorb, or needing to absorb, tens of thousands of new people moving to Thurston County in the next 20 years. And if we don't plan correctly, we're going to have the sprawl that increases our carbon footprint and puts a further tax on our system here and our environment. So the Thurston Regional Planning Council has taken a very proactive approach to building a system of development so that we can plan well for this type of density. So transit-oriented design and doing building along transit corridors is going to be crucial. So that's one of the areas I look forward to working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mills.
Thank you. I too believe that high density housing is essential to the future growth of this area. In particular, I'd like to see high density housing in downtown so people can get out of their cars and use public transportation to get to and from work.
Thank you both. Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. Mills, what are your budget priorities for the city for the next 4 years?
Well, sustainability is my main priority, and what I've seen in the past with budgets is a kick the can down the road approach, and a perfect example of that would be the foot patrol that was cut out of the budget about 3 or 4 years ago. That left downtown without adequate policing coverage, and this is one of the reasons we're seeing so many problems in downtown right now, because we simply don't have the police presence that we need. What happens when we don't have that presence is downtown feels unsafe. People don't want to come downtown, they won't spend money in our locally owned businesses, and that affects the revenue base at the city level because we're paying less B&O tax. So I would like to see downtown really supported. I think it's important to have a healthy, vibrant downtown that is clean and safe.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
A budget priority for me is public safety. Community vitality is my #1 priority for the city right now. And community vitality includes not only economic development, but people feeling safe. And we have decimated the police budget over the years. We have recently supported a 0.1% sales tax increase, which I lobbied for and I campaigned for, but it's not enough. We need to replace more police officers more quickly than we are. So I will push for that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Selby, other than the budget, can you identify 2 or 3 major concerns for Olympia in the next 4 years and how you would propose to deal with them?
I want you to think about a number. 900,000. That's how many needles we exchange downtown a year. We have a raging heroin epidemic, and if we're not careful, it's going to be this generation's meth. And it's something that our city council is behind the ball on. I think they're just becoming aware of the issue now. And the exchange program, the needle exchange program, is funded through the Thurston County Health Department, but it's not a one-for-one exchange like it needs to be, and that's why we're having the issue of abandoned needles downtown and in our community's parks. So that would be one of the things that I would hope within the 4 years that we can get ahead of this issue so we can keep our community clean and safe and sober. Thank you.
Mr. Mills.
I think one of the biggest issues facing our city, and one of the issues I would like to most tackle and I'm running on is the system of communication that the city is using right now is poor. And when we see controversial issues like the Isthmus controversy or the 7-Eleven or the Boys and Girls Club, the common denominator in all of those situations is poor communication on the city's part. So I would like to advocate for a communication process with the public that engages them early in the process rather than later, and as an afterthought to a predetermined outcome.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, what do you think are the major barriers to adopting Olympia's updated comprehensive plan?
Well, I think what we're seeing with the comp plan, which was just delayed again, by the way, there's a systemic problem with this because in my mind, it shouldn't take this long. I was engaged in part of the comp plan about 2 or 3 years ago. It was a focus on downtown. And that it was a very robust and I thought effective form of communication to contribute to the comp plan. And now the comp plan is being delayed yet again because they want more public input. So I think there's a flawed process here. And we need to listen to our planning commissioners, and we need to put the priorities of the public very high when we're making decisions about how our community is going to be developed.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
I think the delay in the comp plan and as well the Shoreline Master Program is indicative of a lack of guidance possibly from the staff to the Planning Commission and the council to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is one of the hardest working community commissions that we have in the city, and they are overwhelmed, I think, with the process. And I think that it needs to be top down as far as giving guidance to those commissioners so they can get through this process much more quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, what do you think Olympia should make of the property that it owns on the isthmus?
Well, first of all, I would like to see a really robust, healthy public process and put this out to the public and find out what they would like to see done with this piece of land. It's a very important piece of land. It's the first thing you see when you come into downtown from the west. My personal vision would be to create a public plaza, hardscaped, and perhaps create an incubator system for small businesses that might want to open up either a food vendor truck or some type of small vendora business, and have an incubator system for people that can't afford to start up a full business but might want to set themselves on that path. I see that as a very open, hardscaped public space that is usable 12 months out of the year and just open to the public. But again, I'd like to see the public have its input first.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
The Isthmus Properties, as everyone knows, is a it's held very passionately by most people in our community. And so we do have to have a very open public process, very much coordinated by the City Council and staff. I would like to see some multi-use there. I would think that we could have a park, but also something that could generate revenue. We're desperate for new revenue for our community, and I think there's a way to partner with our local small businesses as well as making open space available that we can maybe offset the cost of the purchase of the properties and the development of the properties by generating new revenue.
Thank you. I think I have time for one more question. So, Ms. Selby, how specifically would Olympia benefit by having you on the City Council?
Well, as I said before, I bring a unique combination of public service, private sector experience, and nonprofit board experience to the table. I think I've shown the community that I'm a doer, but also that I'm a collaborator. What really excites me is pulling a team of people together to achieve a common goal. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I look forward to finding positive solutions to our community's challenges through mutual collaboration, regardless of real or perceived differences. That's how I love to work, and I think I can do that. I've proven that I can in the past, and I believe that I can work really well with the current council and achieve great things for our city.
Mr. Mills.
Well, I have a proven leadership track record, and I also have always taken great pleasure in bringing what appears to be opposing sides together. And as I've stated from the beginning of my campaign, I believe in effective communication between the public and City Hall. That's my main priority, and I know I could bring a strong voice for that to our City Council.
Great. Thank you. Well, that's the end of our questions, and now we have time for closing statements. And we will start with Ms. Selby.
I'm Cheryl Selby, and I'm your candidate for position number 4 for the City Council. I would appreciate your support, and if you live within the city limits, I would appreciate your vote in November. I'm a downtown business owner, and I've grown and built my business over the last 77 years through one of the worst recessions in our nation's history. I can get things done, and I've got a track record of achievement to prove that. I encourage you to check out my website, electcherylselby.com, where you can find out more about the breadth and depth of my involvement in the community over the last 19 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mills.
Well, as I stated earlier, I learned a real lesson about community when I left this community and moved to New York City. And when I came back, I committed myself to Olympia and making it a better place to live for me and my neighbors and my family and friends. I bring a lot of leadership experience to the table. I'm a business owner, I'm a community leader, and I would love your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you both. And thank you. That brings us to the end of our forum today. Thank you, candidates. Thank you, TCTV and the League of Women Voters for making this forum possible. Viewers out there, we hope that when you vote in the election this year, this November, this information will help you make a more informed decision about your candidates for Olympia City Council, position number 4. Thank you very much. Have a good day.